Welcome to Game Changers with Molly Fletcher, where we take you behind the scenes with peak performers to learn what makes them tick and discover how you can apply their lessons to your life. I'm your host, Molly Fletcher. Today's guest, Bethenny Frankel, is an entrepreneur, TV producer, and best-selling author. Bethenny burst onto the scenes as the unfiltered breakout star of Bravo's hit show, The Real Housewives of New York City, and leveraged her reality TV fame to build a business empire. A self-made businesswoman who's always ahead of the curve, she is the founder of The Skinny Girl and Bethenny Brands and host of the chart-topping podcast, Just Be, with Bethenny Frankel. Her worldwide disaster relief initiative, Be Strong, has raised millions of dollars for relief efforts and direct aid around the world, from Ukraine to Puerto Rico to providing PPE for those on the front line during the pandemic. In our conversation today, we talk about why she originally turned down Real Housewives and what made her change her mind, what it takes to be successful while staying true to yourself, and how she's built and scaled her business on her own terms. Bethenny's new book, Business is Personal, is out now, and like her, it's fresh, funny, and full of practical, no-nonsense business advice. Oh, and before you hit play, this episode does contain language that might not be suitable for everyone. So, if you've got your kids in the car, you're blaring this out from your desk or your cube in the office, just plan accordingly. I just want to give you a heads up because this is Bethenny Unfiltered. So let's jump right in. Here's my conversation with Bethenny Frankel. So Bethenny, your childhood was anything but normal, and you talk a little bit about it in your newest book, Business is Personal. What are some of your earliest memories?
I talk a lot about the racetrack because I remember a lot about the racetrack. It's really most of my childhood. Funny, I don't think I've thought of it. All my childhood memories are at the racetrack, going up to Saratoga and getting the fresh corn and tomatoes and going to be a hot walker in the morning, which is a person who walks the horses after they come off the track, all heated up, and then you bathe them and you cool them down in the shed. And going to Dunkin' Donuts every day at 5 o'clock in the morning prior to that, and then going back to the racetrack. It was just a massive part of my childhood. Food was a massive part of my childhood. We were always at different interesting restaurants, and I grew up with people who were obsessed with different types, the best pizza, the best ice cream, and a lot of action, going to Las Vegas as a kid, and just a lot of action, quick life.
How did that environment shape who you are? As a businesswoman, as a mom, sort of all of it.
Thank God for the racetrack, I think. I mean, I honestly have to say, I think it's just about being a hustler. You're growing up in an action, gambling. There is no second place. It's very quick. It's very competitive. I mean, if you think about it, it makes a lot of sense. If you think about it now, I mean, it's not that difficult. The way that I am, it's just called let's get it done. Let's figure it out. No wasting time. And we have to win. There's no not winning. Otherwise, let's not even do it. And, being around all kinds of different people, being around bookmakers and jockeys and jockey agents and degenerate gamblers and all, highs and lows, wealthy people that own horses, very poor people that work, taking care of the horses. I mean, just such a wide variety.
Well, and I've heard you talk about that. I mean, to me, it's fascinating. Obviously, my background's in sports, but to think about losing by a nose, literally, as you talk about that in your second. And I heard you say, which is so cool, candidly, and so true, nobody remembers who was second in the Kentucky Derby. Nobody cares.
Nobody cares who was second in the Kentucky Derby, even if it was by a hair, even if it was a dead heat photo finish that they gave it to one person. It just is what it is. And, I like that. I mean, I'm not that much about the everybody gets a trophy. I don't want kids to be pressured and feel terrible. I have a daughter who's into art, and there's nothing competitive about her life, but she competes with herself. She wants to be good. She wants to be the best. But I don't tell her that every single person is as good as everybody else at everything. It's ridiculous. It's like living in La La Land.
Sure, for sure, for sure. Every horse at the Kentucky Derby doesn't get a trophy,
Yeah,
right?
we all get a prize. Yeah.
Exactly. A lot of people know you from Real Housewives, of course, of New York City, but you had an incredible and fascinating entrepreneurial journey before that, right? Get me inside of that a little bit.
I mean, I didn't realize what the word entrepreneur meant because it wasn't used, but I've been hustling for a while. I, just didn't want the cubicle. I didn't want the corporate box. And that's what the book Business is Personal is about. It's about the non-traditional route to success. And I had a pashmina business. I was one of the largest importers of pashmina, just turned purchasing one shawl into a business. I was a natural food chef, worked in a restaurant and was cooking, and then realized I could make wheat, egg, and dairy-free cookies and turn that into a baking business called Bethenny Bakes. I always had to turn everything into something else. I was producing events for Merv Griffin Productions, doing large-scale, massive events, and then I ended up doing it on my own with my own company. Like, I just have always been on some road, not necessarily any one trajectory. Just that's why people have to not be so obsessed with the finish line, ironically, because I grew up at the racetrack, because doing all these different types of jobs and having all these different types of experiences will end up taking you to where you need to get to. And then you'll know when you're there and what you should be doing. So, and I still don't know exactly what I should be doing. I just do what I'm passionate about and what presents itself to me and what feels right.
Where do you think that drive came from, right? I mean, that drive to embrace the journey, the grit. Like, you love the hustle. You love the grind. Some people just spend a lot of time thinking about the finish line.
I used to love the grind a lot. I mean, it's not that I loved it. There was no choice. That's just like, we're going all the way and it takes a lot to get here. You're in the grind. You don't love the grind. It just is the grind. Being in my horrible 10-year divorce was the grind. It was a nightmare, an absolute worst. I had an abusive childhood, alcoholism, gambling, nothing will be like what my divorce was like. It was a horror show. But that was the grind. But then you feel like I'm getting somewhere. I'll get to some place and I'll be able to help some other people. Or once I survive this, or you don't think you can survive it, but then when you do, you feel like you've survived something. And that feels really good. That's like being successful in a career. It feels really good to have accomplished something, to have gotten somewhere and done something. That's the grit and the grind that takes you to the promised land.
Yeah. Those moments make you stronger, right?
Absolutely.
When you joined Real Housewives, you were 37, and I know really struggling. You talk about this financially. What made you want to do that show?
I don't know that I did want to do that show.
Okay.
I turned the show down. I turned the show down. It was called Manhattan Moms. I thought about it for a while. It had been shooting for a month, and I thought it's not that easy to get onto television. If it does well, great. If it doesn't, no one will hear of it. And I want to be a natural food chef. So let's take a shot. It felt somewhat exciting too, because it was me being on television in a whole new frontier. But I didn't know it was a new frontier. It was just a thing. It was $7,250, but it was a shot. You got to be in it to win it. It was a lottery ticket.
Yeah, for sure. When did you see, man, this thing's got potential, right? To maybe impact your own life, as a bit of a cultural phenomenon at some level?
It's so funny because I told a publicist that represents very famous people. I said to her, it's a cultural phenomenon. After the first season, we had brunch on the Upper East Side. And she said, it's not a cultural phenomenon. And then all of a sudden, the next year, famous people started mentioning it. It started being part of the vernacular. I think Saturday Night Live mentioned, maybe Obama mentioned it in some fashion. And I just said, this is a cultural phenomenon, which it is, and it was. And you didn't realize it while you were doing it per se. I mean, I was there in the beginning, literally the beginning. But it was a ride, certainly an interesting ride. And I'm definitely glad that I didn't jump on now, and that I was there to build it and create what it would be, and that I would be the first person to ever monetize it, and the first person to write a book, and the first New York Times bestseller, and the first person to launch a liquor brand, and the first person to do a photo shoot, and the first for all of it on The Housewives.
Yeah, for sure. You're a creative negotiator, right? How do you approach it differently, right? Because the way that you exited from Skinny Girl was interesting, to put it mildly. Get me inside of your mindset around negotiation a little bit.
Well, I just agreed to do an interesting show that I can't discuss yet, but And you play the game with yourself. You first have
Come on, Bethenny. It's just us.
Yeah, I know.
It's just
You,
us.
you,
Right?
you can't, you play this game. The ink isn't dry yet, so I can't.
Yeah.
You play this game where, do I want to do it? Do I want to do it first and foremost? Like and then what do you want? What do you want? What's the whole thing? I want the fried rice. I want the sauteed broccoli. I want all the things that you want, which I do when I'm thinking of ordering at a restaurant. Then I like whittle it down to what's realistic and what's not. And, and then most people focus on the money and I focus on the chessboard. This is when I took the $7,250 for the first year of Housewives. This is when I went back years later and made so much more money on Housewives. This is when there were seasons that I took the same money but got so many other things and was able to do Shark Tank or be with my daughter or other things. And, that's the whole a la carte menu. So I decide what I want. And then when I realize what they don't want and where I find out where the deal breakers are for both people, where the rub is, and then you finesse it and you massage it and you figure out other things you can give. You figure out, okay, this may not be the money where I want, but I know conceptually I can have more free time doing this one, or they're going to be so happy to have me because I'm taking less money than I've taken before that they're going to treat me so well and I'm a better quality of life. Or throw this in. You got to think of creative things to throw in and take out, and then you got to figure out when you're willing to do it. It's so creative negotiating. It's so creative, and there are so many ways to finesse it in and out, and you got to look at it and come back, and it's really an interesting thing. It's like cooking. It needs this. It doesn't need that. Let's take that out. It's really more creative than people give it credit for. You got to be creative when you're negotiating.
What do you think is the biggest mistake people make sometimes when they navigate, with the exception of not being creative?
People listen to lawyers and stay in some box, and the lawyers will go back for months and months and months, and you get on a telephone call with the person you're really negotiating with, and you tell them, you give to the point, and they have to give to a point, and everybody should be slightly uncomfortable. And you play, chess, and you don't give ultimatums, and you don't walk away and spite yourself. You just got to keep a clear mind and not be emotional and be realistic.
Yeah, I think sometimes one of the biggest mistakes people make when they're negotiating is they think you got to do it all at once.
Yeah, you got to pick. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, there's so much.
You could chip away at it.
Yeah, for sure.
Like there could be something where I'm not getting it in one way, but I usually don't get reimbursed for wardrobe. So find some money there. Find some money over here for a producer credit. Find some money something else. Find some carve-outs that they'll let you do what you want. You don't feel shackled. Because I've walked away from 7-figure deals because of being shackled. So what if the deal was 6 figures, but I'm not as shackled? So then I can go do things elsewhere. That's freedom. Add that all together, and that's a better pie. It's a better pie for you mentally because you don't feel like you're handcuffed to somebody or something, and you can do more. But then also you might be able to add all those pieces together and make more money, or just have more free time, which is with your family. So you got to decide what you want, but it's not a one size fits all, and lawyers could fuck up a wet dream. And people thinking about just the numbers are very short-sighted. If I would just, I didn't sell Skinny Girl because of the numbers. I sold it because of the street cred. I knew that if I turned this deal, it would put me on the map. I would keep the intellectual property. I would have all these other categories, and I could go build and do it again.
So here's what I think is interesting. In your 30s, you were broke, right? In your 40s, you sold Skinny Girl for $100 million. In your 50s, you're running a business empire. Tell me a little bit about your relationship with money.
My relationship with money has gotten good recently. I don't know if it was selling my apartment in New York City and just because I don't want to have so many things that I don't need. I don't know if it's that I just feel like I'm safe, I'm there, and if I just manage well and be smart. And I know how many skill sets I have. I know that if I can't do a television show, which I don't always want to, that I have a very lucrative podcast. Okay, so that's a great partner. I nurture that. I know that I can do HSN and really lean all the way into that if I need that. I can write a book. I can go, if I decided to do nothing else, I could go do speaking engagements. If I decided to do nothing else, I could go renovate one home at a time and make a 7-figure profit because I'm very good at it and very creative. So I have enough avenues that I've chosen to live my life on my terms and not be handcuffed to anything or anyone. And I want a greater life-work balance. And I want the same for my staff and my team. And I just am a happier person with as it pertains to business. Just today, I was talking to my assistant and said, we're canceling these 2 events. Like, dispassionate, without like me getting all upset and worried about what everyone's going to think. This is what's happening. I can't do it. I have to do this other thing. I have to prioritize. We have to cancel. Like, that's it. Too bad. No one's going to die.
Right. You know, you call yourself a late bloomer, which I think is kind of cool. And there's so many messages that I think oftentimes in society about sort of women and age and what to do when and why. How can we change that narrative, if you will?
Well, everybody's in a rush to get to be where they want to be. And I think it's great for me to share that I found success that's so late. And I don't even think it was that late. You could find success in your 50s. I really don't think it was that late. It's just when it started, and then when it popped off. And I love that because I have, listen, I now create a lot of content on social media. I mean, people are shocked at how much I know about organizing and food and beauty and all these different things these hacks. It's because I've lived. I've lived. I've had different jobs. I've produced events. I worked for Kathy and Hilton and Nikki in Paris. I worked for Jerry Bruckheimer. I worked for Lauren Michaels producing movie premieres. I worked as a hostess at La Scala. I mean, I worked at a bakery when I was a kid. I used to throw illegal parties when I was 14. I used to go to nightclubs when I was 14. This whole life that I've lived is why I'm who I am now. So that's why people shouldn't be in such a rush, because once you hit that set of waves, you'll be fine.
Yeah, for sure. What do you think is something, Bethenny, people get wrong about you, right? Like maybe a misconception.
I think people think that I exercise a lot, and I don't. I think people think that I care about my weight because of the name of the brand, and I don't, because I happen to be thin, and I don't. I think people probably think I'm social, and I'm not. I think people probably think it's like a party every day working here. I mean, it is fun. It's not a party, but we're always laughing. It's like a Seinfeld episode at my house and my workplace every day. There is a cast of characters, and we do laugh a lot. So it is fun. What they think of it is, but it's not like we're drinking margaritas all day just laughing and it's easy. It's real work.
Right. You're drinking Skinny Girl.
And I don't think anyone understands how insane my calendar is. My calendar is the most insane thing about my life.
How do you navigate your calendar as far as ensuring you have the energy for the things in your life that matter most while navigating all these competing demands that I'm sure are coming at you?
Stack. That face of makeup is on. We are doing it all. Kill yourself. Burn it out. Do it the whole day, because tomorrow I'm not leaving pajamas or my bed. Like that. So stacking and being militant. No. We're not doing that. That looks like one thing on paper. In real life, it's going to be hell. I'm not doing that. And I want to be with my daughter every time that I'm with her and when she's not in school. And that's a rule. And I don't care. I'm not doing it. The answer is no. And then also, yes. All right. We'll do that with the other thing. We'll make that person happy. I'm doing it for you right now. We're giving you this other thing so I don't have to do that thing. Horse trading.
Yep, for sure. And I've heard you talk about that, right? You talk about coming from a place of yes.
Full on.
Right? What do you mean by that?
It's not being in a good mood. A place of yes is, I've got it. We're on it. I'll figure it out. And I say to people, let's just shift it a little bit to the yes, because someone could say we can't do that or that's not possible. Or I'm like, no, we're going to figure it out. Because just hearing someone say that it's not possible will give me anxiety. And then we're starting from underground. If we start from level playing field of we could probably figure it out, and then we do everything and we can't, then I can deal with that. But starting from picking up the boulder doesn't work. What works for me is, yes, we'll figure this out. Let's get into it now and do everything we can to figure it out.
Yeah, it's sort of a no excuses mindset, right, at some level. I mean, I always say, look, when I hear no, it's just feedback. It's not really no, it's just feedback. That's all it is.
But it's not just feedback. It's negative. It's not just
that's a good point.
You're not at 0. You're at -2. We're starting with
good call. Yeah, good call.
Starting at 0 is we have a blank canvas. No is this canvas has been shit all over and we literally can't. But that's not what it is. It's a blank canvas. So we need to start with a blank canvas. And then if later on we figure out it's not possible, okay. But we can't start with shit all over the canvas.
Right. I love it. So, Bethenny, I mean, you've heard this before. You come across as pretty fearless, right? Pretty decisive.
Full on.
Is there a moment where you remember feeling, intense uncertainty or feeling, I would imagine, fear? Tell me about those moments. How'd you navigate them? What happened?
Fear. I don't have fear of cancellation per se, unless I said, I can't imagine that I would live my life the way that I live if I have fear of cancellation. But if I said something that I didn't understand, then that would be easy to navigate. If I said something that nobody else understood, and now I've got to be doing some like weird kiss ass apology that's not authentic, then we're going to get into a problem because I'm walking out of here the same way I came in. I'm not, I mentioned that Drew Barrymore apologized about saying that Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial was a 7-layer dip of insanity. And she apologized because she got backlash. It's a fucking 57-layer dip of insanity. Like, you got to be able to say something. And when you're owned by syndicated talk show people and a lot of other people, you got to say what they want you to say. And then you become more and more muted and shackled and filtered, and it's just not going to happen. So if, maybe it's uncomfortable if I take a lot of heat and get backlash for something. I wish I were more like what I imagine Dave Portnoy and Howard Stern to be like. I mean, I'm not far, frankly, because I'm pretty unapologetic, but it seems like Dave Portnoy really doesn't give a shit. But I think when he almost got canceled, he gave a shit and he fought back. And I like that. Like, he used the fuel. It doesn't matter. I don't even know what ultimately happened. And I remember texting with him about it. But I'm just talking about the delivery, like the way that I appreciate Dave Chappelle in that medium. Like, I respect his owning of what he's saying as an artist in that space. He's got a courage to his convictions. And I like that Dave Portnoy has that. And I have that too. It can be scary. And I'm not even sure what I'm scared of, because cancellation's not something I'm necessarily scared of. Although I don't want to not be able to do a podcast. That would suck. And that would be upset because I like the vehicle. But I don't care about being like popular. And I'm not insecure about all that. So we got to be not so quick to judge.
Hi there, it's Molly, and I've got some exciting news to share with you. In just a few weeks, I'll be launching my first ever on-demand course that's crafted to help you up your game and unlock the drive to fuel next level success. Go to mollyfletcher.com/waitlist to join the waitlist, and you'll be the first to know when my new course launches and get an exclusive discount. Again, that's mollyfletcher.com/waitlist. Are you ready to up your game? Sign up today. I think fear blocks a lot of people from doing things, going for it, asking for what they want. I'm sure there's been times where you feel a pit in your stomach or you think, man, this is going to be, this is scary as hell, right? And you did it anyway. Is that?
Now, no. Now, no.
Okay.
It could be. Listen, yesterday I felt, so I have a brand called Skinny Girl. So I went on the internet and decided yesterday to talk about the choice that Kim Kardashian made to publicly say that she lost 16 pounds in 2 weeks to fit into a dress. Now, I was aware in commenting on that and in commenting on the deceptiveness of posting pictures that aren't what you actually look like and continuing to filter. And, I was cognizant of the fact that I have a brand called Skinny Girl, and that boomerang could come back and, whack my neck off. But my brand does not say be thin. It's about lower calorie food products. In the book, I discussed that I chose to make the swimwear not in the word Skinny Girl, that I chose in the future for my future apparel brands to not be Skinny Girl. I'm aware. I'm accountable. It was over a decade ago for a lower calorie margarita. But when I'm about to hit post and I'm about to say something, about constructive, I think Kim Kardashian's a lovely person and gorgeous and undeniably successful. But to say something about that, you're like, no one's going up again. It's David and Goliath. I mean, they're very, but you can't be a baby. If you're a mother and you feel a certain way about something, you got to go for it. So there's a little fear each time you just decide to go fire a random shot that is not a fight that you're even in. But you want to be a person that has an opinion and has a point of view, and you want to take chances. The way that people at the Met Ball take chances in what they're wearing in order to either fail or get attention, I'm trying to take chances because I don't want to be afraid. I want to be a person that's known for my voice and my opinion. So it's scary. It can be scary, but it's like a roller coaster. It's just like, oh my God, we're about to make that turn, So.
What do you think? Speaking of Kim Kardashian, her recent business advice, right? Get off your ass or get your ass up and work, she says, and how it was received. What's your take on that?
Listen, just like I really believe that for the dress, she didn't do it in her own life. She could lose weight. She could do whatever she wants. But for the message for the kids is what I had a problem with. I know my assistant said that her friends are Googling the diet, that prom kids are Googling the diet. I'm right in this. Like, it's not, I don't have to have a bunch of moms agree with me to know that I'm correct in this opinion, because it leaves room for lose weight, do what you want to do, go to the Met Ball, take your clothes off, doesn't matter. But let's not, and people say you should parent your own way. Listen, my daughter's seeing the internet. I can't keep her in a box. So, but get off your ass and work. I understand the difference in the content and the delivery. It's been a pandemic. It's been a crazy time. Women are defeated. They're depressed. They may not want to get off their ass and work in that way because they feel that they're never going to ultimately get to where Kim Kardashian gets to anyway, no matter how hard they work. The needle may not be moved that much. It may be like, I'm going to get a D or a D minus on the test. Like, they might not want to do that. That's A. B, I don't think most people work as hard as you're willing to work, like in an entrepreneurial environment. I mean, I work very hard, and I don't know that everybody wants to work that hard, but not everybody wants to work that hard. And not everybody wants my life, and not everyone wants her life. And it's not about the message, it's about the messaging. It just felt a little, I'm up here and you're down there. And, the juxtaposition of her being this person who grew up in Beverly Hills and knowing people like Paris Hilton, and a woman who's a nurse who has multiple kids and is working 3 jobs, it's the juxtaposition. It's not the message. I understand what she meant about the message. It's the messaging and not being aware of who you're speaking to.
How'd you know it was time to leave sort of the Real Housewives series? And, was that an easy decision? I mean, was that obvious to you? Like, I'm out?
Well, I knew because it just felt wrong. Felt like something that I had eaten that wasn't sitting right with me. And it just felt like it wasn't where I wanted to be. And it wasn't at the level that I'm at in my career with the way that I go into business with certain types of partners, and the culture in their business and in the way that they work is as important as what we're working on. I've left partnerships because of the nature of the business relationship. And given the level of entrepreneurial deals that I've done, from a business standpoint, I just didn't like the way that business was conducted, where I'm not the same as everybody else on the Housewives from a business accomplishment standpoint. So we shouldn't all be sort of clumped together. And I don't mean financial, but when we're negotiating just terms, et cetera. And so that's always, so there's that. And I didn't want to be there. I just didn't feel that I wanted to be there. I didn't want to talk about these issues. I didn't want to nurture inauthentic relationships that only happened within a 4-month recording period. And leaving was, I basically walked on a deal point that doesn't even matter, that would never come to fruition, it's literally irrelevant. And in any other situation, I would have said, who cares? I just was looking for a reason, and I just was looking for a reason to pull the ripcord. And I did. And I think they were surprised because I was doing business in the way that I do as an adult, which was, okay, are we at best and final? We are. And then I said, okay, then, I'm out. And I think it was like, wait, no, just kidding. Wait, no, because
we weren't really best and final.
No,
Never
we
mind.
weren't really, exactly. We weren't really best and final. And I should have called the head person who then called me. You should have called me. I don't play games. I'm not in preschool. I don't do other housewife negotiating tactics where I pretend I'm leaving. I'm not really leaving. It's cat and mouse. I don't do that. I'm a real adult business person, and best and final means best and final. So that's why I walked, because it was best and final for me too. So I negotiated like an actual business person, adult, versus like a housewife.
So any shot we see you on Real Housewives reboot?
There is no chance that 0%. I will be on that Real House. I mean, I listen, Dumb and Dumber, so you're saying there's a chance, but I mean, there's not much of a chance.
Yeah.
There's a snowball's chance in hell. I suppose a snowball has a chance in hell, but maybe there's a cold pocket in hell, but I don't know if I've ever heard of one.
Yeah. You've managed to keep your team small and your business nimble. How have you done that?
I don't like a lot of transacting and activation, and I don't need 1,000 people around me just to make me feel important. I don't like to have like people tying up my corset and little birds chirping around. And I just like to keep my stuff lean, and I trust the people around me. For example, I have a housekeeper, Lainey, who's been with me for years and years. She's amazing. She helps us ship boxes. She helps me organize things. She helps me with business things. Like I have a wonderful driver who now is helping with house management because I trust him. So it's like you're part of our business family. So we just build on the people that are already here deeper. And it's a great methodology for me. And I say no more than I used to. So yeah, it's leaner.
Would you ever rebrand Skinny Girl?
I already sort of am. I mean, like I said, could have been any brand. I chose to call it Bethenny. Swimwear is launching. I chose to call it Bethenny. That is a new brand. I have the way that I don't like the word diet, but if someone called it low calorie Coke, I'd have no problem with that. That's effectively what Skinny Girl popcorn, salad dressing, and preserves are. And I have no problem with Skinny Girl in shapewear because everybody's trying to like establish some sort of a waistline or cinching. So I'm clean in where it is, and even being Skinny Girl coffee, I have no problem with that because it's not a hot button thing. Putting Skinny Girl on swimwear to me was a problem, and I had to have a conversation about it. So I'm fully aware that something that I created as a low calorie cocktail years ago doesn't fit in every category, nor do I want it to. But by no means does anybody think that I'm promoting a thin lifestyle, because we have sizes up to 32, and every book I've ever written is about balance and indulgence and no diet and none of that. So, it would have to be, the word Skinny Girl is about indulging. It's about allowing. Now you should feel like you can indulge more in popcorn because it doesn't have the same calories. It's not about depriving. It's not a diet pill.
What, Bethenny, if you knew one thing or a couple things, right, that you wish you knew earlier in your career, what would that be? And maybe just any color around it. Why? I mean, you grew up fast, right? You saw a lot early. But what do you wish you knew earlier?
The rule in the book not to connect the dots. I mean, and not to go in too deep. Like everything, ironically, because business is personal, doing things like reality TV where so much of your personal life is involved and you connect with people and producers and people and, keep it as business as possible. Like you don't need to be chumming up with everybody, and you don't need to think that everybody's your best friend because they're absolutely not. So keeping it to business is so empowering and so strengthening because the line is where the line is and it's not blurred, and you don't need to think that you were friends with someone and then they screwed you over because they did something in business. Like it's just really clean, and it's really what is traditionally felt to be male, being dispassionate. It's like that. No, I'm not doing that. That's not my self-worth. Yes, I'm doing that. Like all of that is just really, really liberating.
I believe relationships are a big part of our business success, right? Our ability to connect with people so that we can do deals matters, right? What's your take on that?
You see everybody in every angle. I just signed on to do a television show, and had I not lived my life with integrity in business, and whether people like me or not, they know that they can trust me, that I'm telling the truth, even if it's been tough love or just me being, they didn't want what I wanted, but it matters so much because it's literally 6 degrees of separation. So you're running into all the same people in every industry and everything. That's why I don't connect dots. They're connected enough on their own, but you have to live your life. Like say I'm up for something and someone says, oh, she's shady, or she did this, or she didn't, she did something untoward. You're done. But the opposite is true. Someone would say to me, she's tough, but she's fair.
Yeah. Oh, that's huge. Yeah, no, I mean,
she's polarizing, but she's honest, whatever it is.
Yeah. Well, no, and relationships are key, but it doesn't mean you can't have difficult conversations inside of them, right? Obviously.
Absolutely. But if you keep it more business and not too personal, then people don't, know where your soft spots are and feel that you had a relationship and vice versa. And then you get more upset and you get emotional about it. No way. It's business.
Yeah. Now tell me, I mean, you said it, soft spot, right? So like you come across as a real baller, right? From front to back. I mean, where are your soft spots? Are they there?
I have incredible integrity. I think about how people feel. I think about the conversation that's negative hours afterwards. And, I want people to be happy. I am aware when I'm snappy. I'm aware when I'm moody. I'm aware when I'm not bringing enough to the table, when I have to course correct, when I'm not. I'm aware that if I make a comment about somebody losing weight for a dress, that I need to be accountable and explain to people who believe in me what my brand means. Like, I'm aware of what's going on. I don't close my eyes and think nobody can see me. So I hold myself accountable way more than others do.
So changing gears a little bit, Be Strong, the initiative that you're driving, leading. I mean, you've raised millions for direct aid efforts in Ukraine. How did you kind of get into this space, prove yourself, if you will, in this space, if that is relevant?
It's totally relevant because there's no reason, who am I in this space? I've learned so much, and I've learned that not everybody is a good business person. And then that's why we should not all just assume that anybody who has a charity it's a good charity. It's literally the opposite. And that's what's frightening about people giving money to random places, because most people aren't good business people, and most people aren't running legitimate charities that are doing what you want them to do. Just facts. So I had to build the credibility. I had to walk the walk. I had to show up places. It's like business. I used to go to the places more. I used to go to Guatemala and Mexico and Puerto Rico 6 times and Bahamas, because I was building something and seeing what it entailed, and I was on the ground more. Now my partner, Michael Capone from Global Empowerment Mission, has been for months on the ground in Ukraine, because he's the operations and logistic person. He's the person running the year-round warehouse, and I'm the person deciding exactly how the money's getting spent and what our messaging is and what we are going to work on and how it's going to be important. But I built that credibility one relief effort at a time, from Northern California to Australia to Mexico to Guatemala to Haiti to North Carolina to New Orleans to, all over the world and country to get to this point where this was the Super Bowl. Then PPE, raising $20 million in PPE, all 50 states. This was the Super Bowl of relief efforts. This was a war, which I never even thought we would touch, because it doesn't seem like a disaster but it is a disaster. And so now we are so immediate and economical and fiscally sound, and we do more with less than anybody. What we've accomplished is actually unprecedented in the world. So we're legit, and we're also lean on, like my other business.
All right. So Bethenny, we end with rapid fire. So I'm going to hit you with a couple. One habit that's improved your life, like a consistent behavior that's improved your life.
Taking pieces off the board and being disciplined and militant about it.
Saying no.
Yeah.
Getting rid of stuff. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Clutter. What's the worst advice you've ever received?
The worst advice I've ever received: you can't do the Housewives. It'll be a train wreck. You can't leave the Housewives. That's, that's your whole platform.
Yeah. What's your biggest pet peeve?
I think probably Place of No.
Yeah, I thought that. Yeah, that's great. Who's a dream guest that you want on your podcast that you haven't had yet?
I want Kanye West, Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk would be great. Oprah would be wonderful. Ellen DeGeneres would be great, because we know each other, and it would be an interesting, different conversation. Michelle and Barack Obama would be great. Bill Clinton would be great and interesting. Donald Trump is polarizing, but I wonder if I'd want to have a different kind of conversation with him. And we've had polarizing Democrats and Republicans on the show, so I think that's important to me.
So what's something that you love that people think is probably pretty weird?
Organizing, like, in beyond. It's
You don't hire people to do that?
No, I do it.
You like doing it?
I mean, anybody who ever wanted to do it for me, it's like, I don't know how to explain it. It's like you cook on your own, but you'd have a private chef come in. If an organizer wanted to come in, they always say they've never seen a house more organized than mine that they're walking into. It seems like you're a crazy person wanting them to come, but there's always something I could learn from them. Any organizer is welcome to show up at my house. So the one way to get into my life is to be an organizer and say you want to come in and just like tweak everything. I'd be like, come
so
on.
you're that person with the label printer and the plastic
Full
boxes
on.
everywhere?
She just said you're that person with the label printer. Oh yeah, with all the black jelly beans. Yeah, my assistant right here. here. By the way, there are some black jelly beans that need to be labeled. I saw them this morning. And stop. Why were you in the cabinet looking at the jelly beans?
For some reason, I just opened the cabinet and saw like a black.
Yeah, it was empty. So now my assistant, who's not organized, has become very.
I am sorry. I just threw under the bus. But I gotta ask, why do you have a cat, with just black jelly beans? I mean, are you one of those people?
Because my daughter is so cute, and I told her the story that when I was a little kid, John Rizzo in 8th grade, who had a crush on me, he gave me black Twizzlers in school, like 2 packs of it, because I love black licorice. And you either, just like me, you either love me or hate me. Black licorice is like that. So my daughter knows that I love black licorice. So she was so excited to give me an Easter present. And the other day she was late in giving it to me because it was at her dad's, and who cares? She lost the wrapping. She got the bag. So she's like, Mama, can I give you your Easter present? And she found a bag of giant jelly eggs that were all black. And that's not that easy because I don't like the tiny little beans. I like the bigger ones. So I had to put them somewhere. And I was like, we need a special jelly bean jar. Also because I always say that housewives are jelly beans in a jelly bean jar. And I meant that with the colorful jelly beans. But actually they're really like all the black jelly beans where they could be interchangeable and it doesn't matter. So I said we need a jar, and I put it in one of the containers where we have all the other stuff. And now that's one that my assistant didn't know about. And she's not the labeler, by the way. So let's not miss. She's not the labeler.
You're the labeler.
Myself and Lainey are the labeler. But then there were a couple that didn't have labels, and it was on the list of things to do. And I'm sure that Annie begrudgingly, because she's all about the calendar, not about the labeling, but she got into it and she labeled the rest. So now Annie has one label to make, and black jelly beans.
Yeah. Annie, you got to get on that.
She said, Annie, you got to get on that. Or the minute we stop. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, she's probably going to just go do it right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I love it. So if you were stuck on an island with a Real Housewives cast member, like if you had to be stuck, who would you want it to be and why?
If I had to be stuck on an island with a Real Housewives cast member, not of my show, of any of the shows, I'm going to give you a couple. This is so fascinating. Okay. God, you got to really think about how long. Well, I've known Kyle for years, and we've spent a lot of time together. So the easiest answer is Kyle, because I know we're going to get along. I know we're going to laugh. I don't know why, but Erica Jane keeps popping into my mind. I just feel like she'd be resourceful. I think I'd have a good time with that. I think it'd just be a good dynamic, myself and Erica Jane. And I know Nene, and I she's not a housewife anymore. I know Nene fairly well. That could be interesting. I mean, you're kind of processing this, and you're like down for it. Like you're kind of like you're down for maybe this on a month or a couple weeks on an island with one of these gals. I don't have the time, and but yeah, I think it would
because you got to label shit.
Because we got to label it. We got to bring a label maker onto that.
Yeah, that would be the only thing.
Yeah, but Kyle and I get along very, very well. So Kyle would be obvious, and Erica would be less than obvious.
So I've heard you say that you really are good at taglines, and Housewives franchises are known for their taglines.
Right.
Okay, so what would be your personal tagline?
On that island or in my life?
In your life.
I mean, I've said most of them. I've said, if we're not doing real, let's not do it at all.
Love it. All right, Bethenny, the show's called Game Changers. So one last question. What game changer or who's a game changer that inspires you and why?
From a vocal, fearless standpoint, it's hard to find somebody who's less apologetic than Dave Portnoy and Elon Musk. And Kanye, by the way. I know that he makes mistakes, and I know that he does the wrong thing and makes the wrong choices, but Dave Chappelle too. And I don't find this in women, and that's what's interesting. Women are more afraid. The women are filtered. The women are saying what they think we want to hear, and they're not crossing over. There are some comedians that will dip in, but they get afraid because they want to be good friends with all those big celebrities, and they won't say what they really feel. But Dave Portnoy and Elon Musk and Kanye West and Dave Chappelle are not afraid of consequences based on things that they're saying. And I respect that. I respect it because it's not necessarily in those moments with an agenda. They have agendas. Everyone has an agenda, but those people will say something that they believe, even if it will be unpopular. They're saying what they want to say, and they're not afraid. And I admire that.
Well, I admire that about you, Bethenny. Thanks for doing this. This was fun.
Thank you.
Here are a few of my favorite takeaways from my conversation with Bethenny. Number one, you've got to be in it to win it. Boy, that's so true. Particularly, I have to say that resonates with me from my former days as a sports agent. One of the keys to Bethenny's success, she's always upping her game and looking for the next opportunity. She's never arrived is a bit of the mindset, right? Don't go into things half-hearted, right? Get intentional and put in the work. You've got to be in it to win it. Love it. Number two, start from a place of yes. In other words, don't get caught up in no and in thinking and leaning and starting with no. Look for the yes. Are you focused on problems or solutions? Shift to the yes, and I can guarantee you'll broaden your perspective and find more creative solutions. Number three, stack it. As a business entrepreneur, I love how Bethenny talked about stacking, right? Squeezing the potential out of every opportunity. If you're taking the time to prepare for something, think what else you can add in, right? What can you mix in? What can you throw in? What can you be intentional to add in to maximize that investment? This habit at some level can become a mindset shift. Thanks, as always, for listening to Game Changers with Molly Fletcher. If you like the show, be sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts. There you can listen to previous episodes and leave us a review, which helps other people find out about the show. This episode was edited and sound designed by the team at Sound On Studios. You can find out more about their work at soundonsoundoff.com. Check it out. For more about me, visit mollyfletcher.com. Until next time, stay curious and be bold.